topic that is in the 5F Life Design System that we created for the ACT method, and I'm going to talk with you about it today. And in this session, on this live today, you're going to learn about finding your bullseye. There's this concept in Japanese culture, it's called Ikigai. Have any of you listening, have you heard of this? Have you heard of Ikigai? If not, this is going to be such a really cool discovery for you, and I'm really excited. When we think about our healing journeys, there's a couple different layers that can come with that. We want to think about the problem we're trying to solve. We want to think about the symptoms that we're having that we want to get rid of. And as we make that momentum, we also want to think about our bullseye, where we're going. Otherwise, we can just feel like we're wandering aimlessly. We don't know which direction we're heading. And that can feel a whole heck of a lot more scary than being where we are right now. Recently, I was talking with somebody, and the conversation was around how it can be really scary to heal from anxiety, scary to heal from depression, because at least when we're anxious, we're familiar with that, right? We know what to expect. We've been there before. And so when we start thinking about what is next, what could be the next part of my story, it can feel like this big nebulous world of endless opportunity, but really scary and overwhelming. And so today you're going to learn about this wonderful ancient Japanese tradition called Ikigai, and it's a part of the 5F Life Design System, which you can get more information on in the ACT method. Also, when we finish this live, we're going to post a really beautiful graphic, because I don't know about you, I'm a visual person, and so you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about and visually depict it. I also have a bunch of notes up here on my computer, and there's going to be some solutions. So if you're listening, if you have anxiety, and if you're looking for how to create the next chapter, let's work on our Ikigai together and create a bullseye of where we want to go. Because the way that you fire it is the way that your brain is going to automatically go. It's kind of like a well-paved road. Our car will go down the well-paved road. Another example is if you start at the top of a mountain, you're at the top here at the peak, and if you pour water, you imagine this like giant rain cloud pouring water down the mountain, the water is going to flow down that path of least resistance. And so if your healing journey hasn't been carved out yet, if you don't even know where you want to go or what that would look like, then the water doesn't know which direction to go, and it's going to continue going down anxiety. So, Ikigai, there are 3 key concepts. Number 1 is, what are you passionate about? What makes your heart excited? What makes your soul on fire? What is your passion? What makes you feel like you're motivated to get up in the morning? So when you're taking a moment and you're stopping and you're thinking about like a parallel universe exercise, like if I could do anything I wanted in as many parallel universes as I wanted, what would I be excited and passionate about? So that's the first part. But the trouble often happens when we get stuck there, right? Because passion doesn't necessarily create bullseyes. Passion can fuel that energy to go towards the bullseye, but it isn't the end of the conversation. In Ikigai, we are able to start to identify what that looks like. And we actually have someone on the live here who says, like, I don't know anymore, I forgot. And oh my goodness, I hear you. And in my story, when my anxiety was so high and it was through the roof, I didn't know what I was passionate about either, because it was literally about getting through the next moment, the next day. And so we're going to talk about what to do about that today. And as you guys are watching this, if you're loving this material, loving this information, I have a ton of free information up in the bio. So if you click on the link in the bio, you're going to see that there's a bunch of stuff that you can get for free. I also do see people on a consultation basis, on a limited basis. So if you need an appointment or you want to chat, there's a link where you can get to do an application to get started. So just want to throw that out there. But let's get to the good stuff, right? So Ikigai, the first is, what are you passionate about? So sometimes we don't know what that is. And so when we think about what we're passionate about, we may have to do some experiments. And so now that the world is opening up more, we can get out more, is start to do different things. For example, go and camp. go outside and camp, or go and ride a horse, or go and do axe throwing, or go for a hike, or get on a boat, or take a class, like take a pottery class. Start experimenting and doing things that may be a little bit outside of your normal experience. So we have Lime of My Life, and she's talking about, I love helping people, but I have had to focus on my health over the past few years. And so that can really detract away from our search of passion. And so one thing that might be valuable is to just choose one thing a week that we can do. And so it's like, what I do is I have a dry erase whiteboard where I write down once a week what is something that's unusual or different that I'm going to try, because you never know what you might find that you're really excited and passionate about. If you love helping people, then maybe for an hour a week, you can go into online chat forums and encourage people, or you can volunteer at a soup kitchen, or you can mentor big brother, big sister. Like, getting creative about ways that you can support and take care of others while making sure that you're prioritizing your own health. And so starting to identify what we're passionate about. The parallel universe exercise is really interesting for me because I don't know about you. When I think about what I'm passionate about, I can either feel completely obstructed from having ideas because I start thinking about, is it realistic? Is it achievable? Do I have to go to more school? Versus if you imagine the parallel universe exercise, it's just like all bars off, like I can do anything, I have any skill set, finances don't matter, I'm just dreaming of what would be neat, what I might be excited about. And then you literally just like create as many scenarios as you want. And I like to do it by writing it down. I do it in columns and just like, okay, in this life, I want to be, when I was a kid, you guys, this is like a little Dr. Cain fact, I wanted to be like a little singer. I wanted to be in a little band. But hey, by the way, 3 harps, this is going to be saved. So I know that you have to get going, but we're going to save this video so you could come back and check it out later. Thank you for being here. But so we're talking about how my passion when I was little Nicole, is I wanted to be a professional singer. And so that would be, right now, that would be one of my parallel universes. And so that's so sweet. Thank you for the kind words, Tigers34. That's really sweet. And another parallel universe, it would be super cool to just be able to travel and see the world. And so what you do in this parallel universe exercise is you start to look at undercurrents of themes, things that, wow, in every parallel universe, I'm helping other people. Or in every parallel universe, I am outside in some way, shape, or form. So then you can start to cultivate an understanding of what makes you happy, what you're passionate about. So that's the first part of the Ikigai. So your homework for that part is to do the parallel universe exercise and just start to fantasize about what might be cool. And the second thing is that you want to then start thinking about it 1 hour or 1 day a week where you can try to do experiments. Like, okay, I want to sing, so maybe I should do like a 30-second TikTok and just sing. Or maybe I could do a karaoke night once a month. Something that feels like it would be interesting. I'm going to go and I'm going to like get a metal detector and I'm going to explore. Like whatever might be interesting for you. So number 1 homework is to make a list, all your parallel universes, all your lives that would be super cool that you could maybe be passionate about or think about. And then 1 day a week where you can experiment. Okay, so Ikigai, if you guys just jumped in the live here, we're talking about helping to create your bullseye. In the process of healing from anxiety, we have to tell the brain where to go. Just like I can practice archery, but if I don't have a bullseye, then I don't know where to shoot the arrow. My brain doesn't know where to go to create that desired state. Some people use the term manifesting, some people use the term designing. I like to think about it in neuropsychology is I'm literally creating synaptic connections. Synaptic connections are the roads that connect one point to the next point in the brain. And I want to show you how this actually works. Before we get to the second and the third of the Ikigai, are you ready? There was this study, I kid you not, this is so cool. There is this study done where 2 groups of piano players were taken, right? So in the first group, the volunteer piano players had to learn a concerto, and they didn't get to practice the concerto. They had to imagine it. They couldn't play on a piano. They couldn't even move their fingers. They just had to imagine. They read the music and they imagined playing it. You with me? So we had 2 groups. The second group, They got the same concerto, they had the same approximate skill set, but they got to practice the concerto on a piano. So in one group they're imagining, and then the second group they're actually doing. And so what they found when they concluded the study is that there was no statistically significant difference in the performance of the concerto between the two groups. So what that means for you, what that means for me, is that by imagining and thinking about and dreaming and creating that bullseye, by thinking about a life where anxiety isn't center stage, by envisioning what that would feel like in your body, by envisioning the excitement of living a life where anxiety isn't center stage, where you can actually be center stage yourself, that creates appreciable changes in the brain as though you are actually doing it. And that is creating our bullseye. So that's the first thing. That's a really cool study. Is anyone with me? Isn't that just mind-blowing that imagining it can be just as effective as doing it? It's just, there's so many studies like this. When I read that for the first time, my mind was blown. So, Ikigai. Okay, Ikigai. So, the second thing. So, we found our passion. Passion doesn't just stop there. The second thing is, what are we good at? So, I could be incredibly passionate. Someone left a comment earlier that, I could sing, but it could be terrible, right? So, if you are passionate about singing, but you sing like a moose, then maybe it wouldn't be a viable option. So you want to figure out what you're passionate about and what you're good at. Perrin, I will put that study, I'll find that study and put it in the link. I have all of those references and those stories in the ACT method course, and so I'll make sure that I get that for you. Thank you for that question. It's such a cool study. You have to read it. So we're talking about number 2 is, what are you good at? So we all are good at something. Maybe it's doing virtual reality games. Maybe it's taking care of other people. Maybe you're good at listening. Maybe you're good at trolling on social media. Like, whatever it is, right? We're all good at something. I'm good at showing hope. I'm good at helping people see that there could be a comma at the end of their sentence. And I'm passionate about it. So now I have 2 out of 2. And then there's one more. I have 2 out of those 2 of my Ikigai, right? So what are you good at? When anxiety is running the show, my loves, it can feel really hard to know what we're good at. I can tell you, when my anxiety was high, I had depressive anxiety. And so I felt like I'm legit not good at anything and I'm too afraid to try. Has anyone been there? Have you felt like that before? And so sometimes it's helpful to get advice or thoughts from people who know you and who you trust. Is, can you tell me, what am I good at? What have you seen that you feel like is a skill of mine? And here's another thought is, maybe anxiety has been in your life for so long and it's been so debilitating, you don't really know what you're good at. And so this is where, again, the experimentation comes into play. So a story, recently I was in Denver and I went to an axe throwing place because my brother thought it would be really fun. And so we went to this axe throwing place, and my husband, turns out, he's amazing at throwing axes and hitting the bullseye. I was like, why do you have this skill? You've never thrown an axe before. You're not a pitcher. Like, why? But he could like nail the bullseye every time. And we would have no idea had he not gone and tried throwing those axes. So you just never know. So doing experiments can help you to start to identify what you might be good at. There's also a test. I don't know if any of you have heard of this. It's called the Strong Interest Inventory. Has anyone heard of the Strong Interest Inventory? We took it when I was growing up in Iowa. It was part of the school curriculum. Is you take the Iowa Test of Basic Skills and the Strong Interest Inventory. And so that test can teach us about what we might be interested in and what we might be good at, which is interesting. So if you're trying to figure out like, oh my gosh, what could that be? Maybe look online, Google Strong Interest Inventory, and see if you can get that downloaded for free. It might be really helpful. So Ikigai, it's all about finding what sets your soul on fire. It's about your purpose. It's about your bullseye. It's about, what does life look like after anxiety is no longer running the show? And I have so many tips for you on how to work on healing your anxiety, but I've been feeling lately like I haven't even told you how to create your bullseye. So where do we go? So it's about finding your passion. Parallel universe, one thing a week, right? Number 2 is, what are you good at? Do experiments, get feedback from other people. Are you ready for number 3 before we finish up here? Number 3 is, what will the world value enough to pay you for? So there is this big conversation recently where all these wonderful, passionate people were going out there and they were pursuing their passion, but their passion became a drain. It became a stressor because the economic viability just wasn't there. And so then suddenly, by pursuing their passion, they were more anxious and they were more stressed and they felt more burdened. And then suddenly they're not passionate about it anymore. And so somebody may have been passionate about sailing their sailboat, but because that sailboat adventure wasn't financially keeping them afloat, pun intended, right? Is that their joy was depleted. They were more anxious, they were more stressed. And so that's why the Japanese are just so wise. So Ikigai is, what are you passionate about? What are you good at? And what does the world value enough that they will pay you for? And so starting to come up with solutions and strategies that meet all three criteria will help you to create a bullseye that's actually sustainable and isn't going to create more problems. So I just have some notes here. Let me just take a little peek. So 4 steps. Number 1, what are you passionate about? Number 2, ask yourself, what does your heart yearn for? Oh my goodness. What does your heart yearn for? What do you long for? When you think about it and you're just like, oh, you know that ache that you feel inside? Like, what is it? What does your heart yearn for? Write it down. What is your heart longing for, my loves? And then what are mediums by which you can express that heart's longing? By creating an idea of what your heart desires, what your mind desires, what you're passionate about, maybe what you're good at, and what the world values enough to pay you for, you can start to create a trajectory that will bring you out of anxiety and into the life that you long for. You can do it. You can. We're here together. What is your zone of genius? So natural talents, we talked about that. And what is a gap in the world? What does the world need that you can fill that need? What do you bring to the table that's unique, right? So these are just questions to think about. And the Ikigai. So what's going to happen next is we're going to post an image of the graphic. I want you to print that. And then I want you to start jotting notes around the columns. Just start thinking about it. Start brainstorming. We have Lime of my life. Her heart yearns for meaningful connection. So, my love, what does meaningful connection look like? Imagine parallel universe scenarios. Okay, I'm meaningful connecting in this way. Or what if I'm meaningfully connected in this way? What does that look like for you? Just start to dream it. Just start to imagine it. Start to think about it. And when you think about it, bring it into your body, bring it into your heart, bring it into your guts, and then allow your wise knowing to guide you, right? Right? Sometimes one of the best ways to conquer anxiety is to tell anxiety what the next act is going to be. We have to create it, right? Okay, so today we've been talking about the life design system, the 5F life design system. One of the components of the 5F life design system is how to create a bullseye. Where is the anxiety going? We don't want to just leave an empty space. We have to fill it. And we're talking about filling it with what sets your soul on fire. What are you good at? And what will the world value? And so if you want to learn more, we have lots of free stuff up in the bio. Make sure you take advantage of that and send questions, send DMs, leave comments. I'm here to answer any questions that you have, and I really honor you and I'm so grateful for you. So thank you for being here. This has been Dr. Nicole, and I will be here again next week. All right, thanks guys.